Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine facing some of the toughest, most personal challenges in your life, feeling completely unheard, and then deciding to tackle the justice system all by yourself. You're not hiring a lawyer. You're literally taking your quest for justice into your own hands. That's the extraordinary landscape we're diving into today.
What's truly compelling here is how one individual, without any formal legal training, meticulously navigates a complex legal system. And while trying to bring to light some highly unusual and deeply personal claims, it really raises an important question.
Yeah, like what does it really take to represent yourself in court? Especially when the evidence involves both, personal struggles and the cutting edge of modern technology.
Exactly. It's quite the mix.
You sent us this fascinating stack of documents from a civil case. We're talking actual legal filings, personal emails, detailed research notes. Our mission today is to cut through all that material, pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge, and truly understand the sheer amount of work involved when someone takes on a civil case pro se.
Pro se, yeah. Doing it all alone.
And we'll also look at the specific, sometimes really surprising, facts introduced as evidence. We're going to break down any legal or technical jargon into clear, understandable insights, almost like you're prepping for a big meeting maybe, but with hopefully plenty of aha moments along the way.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, let's start with the central figure in our deep dive. Daniel Loper. He's the plaintiff in a civil case in Pope County, Arkansas. The case number is 58CV2562. Daniel made this huge decision to proceed pro se. Now, if that term is new to you, it simply means he's representing himself in court, no lawyer.
Right. And think about that. It's like trying to build, I don't know, a really complex piece of furniture that came in 1,000 parts, maybe with no instructions, and maybe without all the right tools. It's just an immense, often overwhelming task.
Absolutely. And as we'll see, it requires incredible dedication.
Well, what stands out immediately in Daniel's documents is his motivation. It's powerful. He's not just looking for money or something simple. He says he's seeking truth, justice, and closure. And it's for what he describes as unresolved trauma, toxic behaviors, and the complete lack of accountability from the people involved.
That's heavy stuff.
It is. And he firmly believes that if these patterns aren't addressed now, they'll just persist. They could harm others, not just him. So there's this deep-seated desire to break a cycle, It gives his whole solo legal battle this incredible emotional weight.
And it seems he didn't jump into this pro se thing lightly. The sources show he really tried diligently to find legal help. He contacted 7 different attorneys or law firms.
7?
Yeah, one attorney, Michael Robbins, he called 10 times,
Ah.
just trying to get through. He also reached out to Deidre's firm, another lawyer named Van Gleef.
And what happened?
Well, the responses, or lack of them, were pretty disheartening, it sounds like. Many just didn't reply, or he only got voicemails. Van Gleef, for instance, apparently gave the case a quick, 2-minute look and just dismissed it. Told Daniel it sounded like a federal matter due to the use of cell phones.
A quick dismissal. That must have been frustrating.
Totally. And this series of rejections really kind of pushed Daniel into a corner, basically forcing him to take on this massive legal burden himself. Even though he says he would have preferred never to call the police or press charges, he just wanted some kind of resolution.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, Daniel's struggle really highlights a significant challenge in our legal system, which is access to justice. It shows the immense burden placed on an individual when they have to go pro se. Just imagine trying to understand all the complex legal rules, the procedures.
Right, and figuring out how to gather evidence that actually holds up in court.
Exactly. And then drafting all these official documents, all without any professional legal training, it's daunting. Daniel himself mentions the financial stress, too. He notes he's in the negative $500, $700 per month with living and insurance. That's just his basic expenses.
Wow. So it's a huge financial strain on top of everything else.
Absolutely. It's an incredibly tough road to walk alone, financially and emotionally. And his situation, it really illustrates a broader gap where the legal system's complexity can just leave people feeling abandoned.
So, okay, after all that effort trying to find a lawyer and facing these huge challenges, what exactly is Daniel Loper claiming in this civil case? What's at the heart of it?
Well, his core allegations are defamation, which is like damaging someone's reputation through false statements and intentional infliction of emotional distress, causing severe emotional pain on purpose.
And who is he claiming did this?
He's bringing these claims against various family members. That includes his sister, Kristen Norden, and his parents, Chris and Cindy Loper. But he's also named several neighbors: Letitia Holland, Judy Rawlings, David Sean Jones, Kyle Chelsea, and Barbara Swafford.
That's quite a few people. Sounds like the issues are deeply personal, tangled up in these long-standing relationships.
Very much so. And this is where we get into the concept of gaslighting, which is a central part of his claims about emotional distress.
Gaslighting. We hear that term a lot now. What does it mean in this context?
Right. Well, for anyone who might not know, the term actually comes from a 1944 movie called Gaslight. In the film, an abusive husband manipulates his wife into doubting her own sanity. He does things like subtly brightening and dimming their gas-powered lights and then denies it ever happened.
Ah, okay. Making her think she's crazy.
Exactly. And today, the term is used more broadly. It describes any interaction where a person or a group manipulates someone into feeling they can't trust their own memories, their feelings, or even their own senses. Dr. Jean Kim, a mental health expert, points out that victims often genuinely start to believe they are unwell mentally because of this constant undermining.
And Daniel's specific allegations of this kind of manipulation and emotional abuse, they're laid out in the documents, right? Quite detailed.
Yes, very personal and detailed. He claims certain family members, particularly his father and his sister Kristen Norden, show narcissistic tendencies or outright narcissistic personality traits.
And the neighbors.
He describes neighbors like Judy Rawlings and Letitia Holland as drama queens, busybodies, and also having narcissistic behaviors. He gives specific examples, too. His sister's passive-aggressive actions, family members apparently talking about his aunt behind her back. And really impactful moment he describes is when his mother allegedly forced him to suppress his feelings after an assault he experienced.
Wow, that's tough.
He says he felt systematically targeted by two families of narcissistic individuals, leading to isolation, emotional trauma, and just immense mental anguish. He even experienced the silent treatment from his family for 7 months after the alleged abuse started.
7 months of silence. That sounds incredibly isolating and, well, draining.
Definitely. And the psychological impact of prolonged gaslighting, which Daniel researched himself using tools like Perplexity.ai and WebMD, it can be really devastating. Victims often experience trauma, PTSD, anxiety, depression, low self-esteem, difficulty in relationships, increased vulnerability.
Cognitive overload, maybe. Just trying to keep track of what's real.
Absolutely. Cognitive overload, isolation, even paranoia. Daniel describes reaching a pit of despair, feeling abandoned by friends and most of his family. And the serious risk here is that individuals can suffer lasting effects or become more vulnerable to future abusive situations because their whole sense of reality has been messed with.
So we've got the emotional distress, the gaslighting claims, the huge personal toll. But Daniel's case takes this really unexpected turn, right? Into alleged technological harassment.
That's right. This is where the evidence he's presenting gets incredibly complex and, frankly, unusual. It points to some very advanced, almost futuristic uses of technology.
Okay, tell us about that. What kind of tech are we talking about?
Well, he claims he developed this persistent sense of being watched or monitored within his own home, just that constant feeling. He also reported multiple accounts of his hacked into like his Facebook, Google, and even his Optimum cable box being messed with. He said the lock and locking ring were cut through.
Cut through, okay.
Yeah. And he suspected a GSM audio bug in his vehicle and home.
A GSM audio bug, what's that?
It's basically a tiny hidden microphone that uses a mobile phone SIM card. It can secretly transmit live audio so someone could listen in remotely from anywhere. He even requested a professional bug sweep by a technical surveillance countermeasures team, a TSCM team, to try and find these devices.
So he was really looking for physical evidence of surveillance.
Yes. And other strange things he documented include voice messages disappearing from his PC, a weird Facebook account in Contact appearing on a prepaid phone he had, which made him think someone was actually getting into his apartment.
Okay, this is getting stranger.
It does. He claims he started hearing voices that sounded like family members, neighbors like Letitia and Judy, friends, even celebrities.
Celebrities? How would that even work?
Well, he wonders if it could be due to voice cloning software from 11 Labs. 11 Labs is a real company known for its advanced AI. It can generate highly realistic voices, or even clone someone's voice from just a small audio sample.
Wow. So AI could potentially mimic familiar voices.
That's the concern he raises. He also researched directional speakers. These are devices that can project sound in a very narrow beam, almost like a laser beam of sound. So only someone standing in a specific spot could hear it. It could make it seem like voices are coming from inside your own head.
That sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It really does. And he also researched unexplained vibrations or low-frequency noises and even unpleasant odors appearing in his home. Things hard to pin down. But maybe the most surprising technical claim he investigated was power line communications, or PLC.
Power line communications, sending signals through power lines.
Exactly. It's a less common technology, but it allows data, or potentially even voices, to travel over existing electrical wiring in a building, or maybe even between homes. Kind of like turning your power outlets into an internet connection, but potentially for audio too. He found research suggesting that using specialized Bure modems, microcontrollers, line drivers, it was absolutely possible to transmit voices to specific addresses over existing power lines.
That's incredible. I had no idea that was even a thing.
It's pretty advanced stuff. His fears also extended to SIM card cloning.
Like copying your phone's SIM card.
Yeah, right. Using Bluetooth or specialized hardware to duplicate the information on your SIM card, essentially creating a copy of your phone identity. It's generally illegal and hard to do without specialized tools or access, but it speaks to the level of digital intrusion he suspected.
And then there was an incident with a jammer.
Yes, in one particularly intense situation, he alleges someone used a cell phone jammer during an altercation, a device that blocks cell signals. And right after that, the power was cut to his apartment.
Man, these are incredibly sophisticated and really hard to prove claims. Gathering concrete evidence for this stuff, presenting it clearly in court, that seems incredibly challenging, especially doing it pro se.
It really is. You can't just point to a broken window, right? Proving things like voice cloning or targeted directional audio, that requires highly specialized forensic analysis. It's often beyond the scope of typical civil litigation, let alone for someone representing themselves.
Yeah, it feels like the legal system might not even be equipped to handle evidence like this easily.
That's a big part of the challenge. It's a true frontier, grappling with how to treat these novel forms of alleged harm.
So, given all these unique and complex claims and the huge personal stakes, what has Daniel actually done to navigate the system by himself? It really shows the amount of sheer methodical work involved in a pro se case.
He's taken many practical and honestly impressive steps. It shows incredible dedication. For instance, he meticulously drafted an amended civil complaint for his case, 58 CV 2562. He specifically named Kristen Norden, Chris and Cindy Loper, Letitia Holland, and the others as defendants.
And that complaint, it wasn't just a simple letter.
Not at all. It even incorporated a detailed admission of facts. That's where he laid out his whole narrative in a structured legal format. Just doing that is a massive undertaking for a non-lawyer.
Okay, so he filed the complaint. What else? He didn't just stop there.
No, he's actively engaging with court procedures. He filed something called a motion to compel against the defendants.
Motion to compel, what does that do?
It's a legal request you file with the court. You're asking the judge to force the other side to provide information or evidence they might be withholding during the discovery phase. Discovery is that pretrial period where both sides are supposed to exchange evidence and information.
Got it. So he felt they weren't sharing things they should have been.
Apparently. He argued their vague claims and what he called boilerplate unsupported objections were improper. He was basically saying their reasons for not sharing info weren't good enough. He even asked for sanctions. Those are like penalties the court can impose for breaking rules. He asked them to pay his attorney's fees, which is interesting since he doesn't actually have an attorney.
That shows some legal maneuvering, though.
It does. And he pushed hard for discovery generally. He requested cell phone records, banking records, credit card records from the defendants. He wanted to figure out who is hiding something. It shows he understands legal tactics.
What about dealing with police? He mentioned preferring not to involve them earlier.
Right, but he seems to have tried. He made multiple attempts to report the harassment to law enforcement, but he felt his concerns were not taken seriously or properly investigated, which must have been another source of frustration.
Yeah, feeling like the official channels aren't working.
He even filed a formal grievance form against an attorney, so he knows how to use the system to complain about professionals. And he considered sending Freedom of Information Act requests, FOIA requests, to police departments to get official records.
So he's really exploring every avenue.
He is. And what's truly innovative and really relevant for anyone trying to learn or process complex stuff quickly is how Daniel has used artificial intelligence tools to help him.
Ah, yes, the AI aspect. Tell us about that. How did he use AI?
Okay, so he used Perplexity.ai for deep research, and not just on simple things, but on incredibly intricate subjects. We're talking the long-term effects of gaslighting, trauma-induced auditory hallucinations, even the technical feasibility of power line communications for voice transmission.
Wow. So Perplexity helped him dig into these really complex medical and technical topics.
Exactly. It allowed him to quickly pull together a vast amount of information, basically acting like his own advanced research assistant. It helped him understand the landscape he was dealing with.
That's pretty amazing for someone tackling this alone. What else?
He didn't stop there. He used a personal lawyer chatbot. He used it to help him actually draft his civil complaint and even prepare questions for depositions, those formal interviews under oath.
A chatbot helped him write legal documents?
Apparently so. And Daniel credits this AI tool with helping him keep going when he might have otherwise given up because it was all just so complex. He also used ChatGPT, another well-known AI, to draft a proposed anti-deepfake video bill for Arkansas.
He drafted proposed legislation.
Yeah, it shows he's thinking about broader legal solutions for these emerging tech issues. It really demonstrates how he used these AI tools not just for research, but to actively process, organize, and create legal documents and arguments. For someone trying to grasp complicated legal and technical stuff on their own, that's incredibly helpful. It's like having a research assistant and a legal aid rolled into one.
That really is a game changer for accessibility, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
But all of this, the legal battle, the research, the tech, it brings us back to the human element,
Yeah.
the immense personal toll this must be taking.
Absolutely. Daniel's story reveals what he describes as a significant lack of support, validation, and understanding from his own family members. He feels they're predisposed to believe negative information about him.
That sounds incredibly painful, especially when you're going through something so difficult.
It does. And the documents share specific, really painful instances of this family dismissiveness. His parents not listening, his mother allegedly forcing him to suppress feelings after an assault, his father's dismissive manner, and even a physical shove he mentions. He describes his mother's verbal abuse making him walk on eggshells, just constant tension. And in a really poignant detail, he mentions charging his aunt $35 an hour for his listening and empathizing services.
He charges his aunt.
Yeah, it seems to underscore the emotional labor he feels he's providing to others while clearly not getting that same level of understanding or support himself. It paints a picture of quite strained family dynamics.
And he's dealing with his own health challenges on top of all this.
Yes, he's very open about that. He mentions being diagnosed with ADHD symptoms since he was 16, which he says made so many things throughout my life make much more sense. He's also realized that when he's